All right, so we are going to get started, like Dan said. So thank you everyone for joining us today on our third tool of the Biz Up Buffalo Survival Series Kit. Survival Series Kit. Today we are working on mental fitness and maintaining your happiness in a time of crisis. We figured this would be a topic that is very essential to cover, but not too many people are actually covering it. Particularly, when we're talking about business owners, a lot of people tend to be focused on the monetary component of running a business, especially now, during COVID. But we really think that having a stable mindset and making sure your resiliency is kind of at its top peak in this time is very important to even dealing with your typical business matters, as far as like how to get your customers and how to maintain them and sales and things like that. So we are super excited to have 3 of our TA providers on board with this session. We have multifaceted speakers and entrepreneurs. Duncan Kirkwood, he is the author of Rerouting. His book just recently came out, so I'm sure he'll give you a little tidbit on that. We have Demetria Stover of the Body Valet. She is, our health and wellness guru, so to speak. So massages and essentially mental fitness, right? How can you holistically get your health back on track? And we have our last TA provider, which is Miss Alisha Taggart. She is the owner and curator, of Janie's Emporium. And she has an extensive background in, it's slipping my mind now, but in social, tell me Alisha. Hold on, let me unmute. Oh. And of course, we're having unmute issues. Alisha, okay. I know it's social and I forgot the rest of it.
Okay, well, initially my background, I'm a social worker and definitely a background in helping those through different mental stresses, counseling, coaching. And then of course I have my business, Janie's Emporium, and I'm able to provide items to people from all around the world. So I'm very happy to be part of this discussion today.
Perfect. Thank you so much for picking up the ball. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and kick off this, live Q&A. I'll give Duncan and Demetria a second to kind of talk about their background, and then, we can move. Something fell. How we're going to work on mental fitness. Actually, I'll go ahead and start with Duncan. Take it away.
Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy to be on the call, be a part of this dynamic group. So my background is just recently released a book called Rerouting, Resilience, Tools, and Tactics. I was a former military officer, and in the military, I served as a master resilience trainer. So it was my job to really train soldiers to be more mentally tough, and mentally agile, to really overcome the veteran, depression and suicide epidemic that's really going through the country. So I took that training, and once I got out of the military, and I blended it with some kind of really deep philosophical kind of concepts and put it into something that the everyday person could understand and use to become more resilient, more goal-oriented, learn how to be more present. And so that's what was the genesis of me writing this book. From Buffalo, got my master's in public administration, et cetera, et cetera. And so I'm here and happy to be part of the team. I'll try to keep it short.
Thanks, Duncan. I appreciate you having you. All right, and Demetria? Oh, there you go. You're unmuted now.
Good morning, everyone. So it is a privilege for me to be a part of this organization this morning. I am Demetria Stover. I own the Body Valet, and I am a licensed esthetician. And basically my business was developed partly of feeling that people should, well, wanting to be able to create balance in people's lives. We have deal with many different stressors and things that go on in our lives, and when we don't take the time to take care of ourselves. So my goal is to, stress management and basically self-care. And I think that is something that we don't, as a society, take advantage of. So hopefully, I'm going to be able to, help people be able to do that, and then just, be a part of community. So that's it.
Thank you. We appreciate having you, Demetria. And I think that's a good point that you touched on. I think as a society, primarily, in the demographic that we tend to serve, which is more of a minority demographic, talking about your feelings and how you're dealing with things isn't necessarily something that I think many of us grew up with. So, it's one of those things, trying to unlearn bad habits as adults now, right? And so for those that have children, how are you, then teaching them at a younger age? So it's much more of a normal conversation, and trying to get away from the stigma, that we kind of grew up thinking, it is of like talking about your feelings. So again, thank you. I think the content was great, short enough that I think it's something that people could use, and enough to, I think, spark their interest in thinking that it's achievable, right? This is just the start of, your mental fitness journey.
So, Demetria, how would you, so many of us are, well, we're all, especially in New York State, sort of closed off from everything, sheltering in place at home. We can't get our massages, our hair done, our facials, our mani-pedis. And these are, well, for example, for me, my life is my job, right? I am working almost 24/7. I'm always on email or doing something related to work. And the only time I ever really take for myself is when I go get my hair done or get my nails done.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't do that anymore. And I'm sure this is I wouldn't say it's causing stress for people, but your self-image is so important, and when you can't take care of that, there's a sense that you are not performing at your maximum or giving your best. I think it plays with your self-confidence. So what's your advice for people who are sheltering in place at home, and how they can care for themselves while they're doing that?
I think basically because everybody is different, and what may relax you or what may settle you or balance you may be different for somebody else. So I think the first thing is, when I talk about in the videos, is knowing the things, the good and the bad stressors, the things that cause you to feel the way that you feel. I think that I'm really into enhancement of natural beauty inside and out. So with us being home more and we can't get out and get those things, I find that a lot of people, you have the option of maybe hitting the internet and seeing if there's like a bath. So if you want to take, if you want to relax and take a bath, or there is different ways that basically do your own facial. There's natural ways to do that, just like some water, and you can use a little baking soda and make you a mask to exfoliate, and then just a little moisturizer, and then you have pressure points in your face that can be soothing, it can be purifying. Give you some type of recovery of energy. Kind of find out what it is that you can do If it's just like taking 5 minutes or a couple of minutes for yourself, or just scheduling, like I'm going to work this amount of time, but by 12 o'clock, I have to take a break. Like you have to schedule the breaks during your day. Even if you're just stand up, if you're at your desk all day, just stand up for a little bit. Walk around, get some fresh air, drink some water. Just find different things that you can do that can relax you, because everybody is different. But you just have to find what your balance is. And it's not that hard to do. You can, it's not that hard to do. If you're a person, like you're saying, who work all day, then you have to schedule it.
Yeah.
It's just my biggest thing.
I like that advice. I live by my calendar. So
Right.
I'm going to definitely put that on my calendar. Take a break or
take a break and schedule yourself in.
Yes. Great.
With you. That's how I think about it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, and we have, there's a question that just came in. I think Duncan's gonna go ahead and address that question.
Would you like me to address the question that you sent me, or this question I just saw from David?
You can do both, and then we can, anybody else wants to interject on that, they can go ahead and do that.
Okay, gotcha. So I'll go with the question you sent me first. Overcoming the stress when you're in a decision-making process. How do I make sure my emotions aren't making decisions for me right now? That's a really, really powerful question. And in my book, I talk about, if you think of a horse and carriage, right? Like a horse and buggy, right? So there's the driver with the reins, there's the two horses in the front, there's the actual buggy, and then there's like the guy hidden away in the back of the coach, right? And your emotions are like the horses, right? And they pull you into action, right? And if you let them just run wild, then they will just run wild and everything will go crazy, right? The buggy is like your body, right? If it breaks down, a wheel breaks, something happens, everything stalls, right? Everything stalls. The driver is like your mind, right? Your mind is telling your emotions how to react to things, how to interpret things. Right, but there's one more person involved in there. It's that master in the back of the buggy behind the little curtain, right? That's like your true self, your consciousness, your soul, whatever language you want to put to it. That's the person that's really in charge. But we have been conditioned to believe that driver is the one in charge, that our mind is the one that is telling us what to do, and subsequently what to think, how to feel, and it's making our emotions get invested into things that always aren't the most productive for us. I'll say it like that. So when you come to decision-making processes, a lot of times we feel attached to the decision or the result. Like we are somehow valued, like our personal value as a human being is attached to this decision, left or right, Democrat, Republican, this or that. Like we are identified with what the choices that we make and the outcomes that we get, right? Like that's who you are, right? Somebody says, I am my job. My job is my whole life, right? Well, I don't know, not really, right? Because if we put you in the middle of the woods or on a beach for 18 days, after like the 4th or 5th day, you're not thinking about your job. You're not thinking about your hair. You're not thinking about what title you have, what role you have this week. After a while, you just exist. You just start to like be. Right, and there's like a level of peace and joy in that. That's why monks go to Tahiti, right, and they study for hours to like get this feeling of like presence and disidentification. So what I would say is like, how do you manage stress when you're in a decision-making process? Is to understand that whatever the decision is, whatever the outcome is, like you still have value. Like you're still this special, incredible, like connected with God, the universe, whatever language you use, right? Like you're connected with everything that is, regardless of whether you get this job or not, or whether your grant report is filled out correctly, or your business gets 20 likes today or 50 shares. Like you are still incredibly powerful and valuable and special. You're not identified with the outcome of everything. And once you kind of step back from that, you just, in the moment, you make a decision with the information that you have, and you do the best that you can in that moment. And whatever happens, you deal with it in that next moment. You don't let your imagination like run wild of like, okay, if I do this, then that, and I might hear, and now all of a sudden you're like getting stressed from an imaginary world that you just made up. You just made up this imaginary world, and you're dealing with the emotional stress because your mind doesn't know the difference. Like your mind doesn't know the difference between when you sit and daydream about 5 years from now, what's gonna happen, or in 2 months from now. Like your mind doesn't know that that's not real. So your emotions react to that made up world. So why make up a negative world, right? Why make up something that is harmful to you? And we do the same thing with the past. When we drag the past into the present, oh, I was hurt 20 years ago, my mom didn't do this, or, you know, I didn't get this job, or I got cheated on, and you bring that pain into this moment. Your mind, when you're sitting there thinking about it, your mind don't know that happened 5 years ago. It's experiencing it right now. And that's torture. Like, why would you torture yourself like that? So don't do those things, right? Focus on this moment. What can you do in this moment? So if it's make a decision, you make a decision, right? So think of it like, and I'll stop after this because I talked, sorry. Think of it like this. If there's a kid walking, 2-3-year-old walking by a curb, right? They're walking down the street by a curb. They step into the street. You see the car coming. You're in range of this child. You're going to grab the child, right? Everybody's going to snatch the child back. There's no hesitation. There's no thinking. Your mind doesn't have time to think about all the possibilities. What if his mom gets mad I touched him? What if I miss? You just act, right? Action needs to be taken. You take the action, right? But the problem is most times in our life, decisions aren't that urgent of time. So you have longer to like marinate and imagine possible scenarios. Don't do that. Just focus on what needs to happen right now. Do you need more customers for your business? Go get more customers, right? Do you need to spend more time with your kids to make sure they're doing their schoolwork? Go grab your kid and go spend some time and start working on what you're like. Do what you need to do in this moment. And then when you get to the next moment or the next week, then you do what needs to be done at that time. That's how you kind of alleviate the stress from these weighted decisions that we're always kind of carrying and dealing with all the time. So I will stop there and I'll let somebody else answer David's question because I've like talked so long.
No problem. So Alisha, I'll go ahead and say if you can address David's question.
Okay, and the question was it that why so many people neglect themselves? I saw that question pop up.
Yes.
You know what? Honestly, I think even as I look at myself, I think we neglect ourselves because we wear so many hats. We have so many pressures, taking care of kids, maintaining our jobs, that we really don't take time out for ourselves. And I realized, even for me, to understand my self-worth, to understand that I need to have time to decompress and power down. And I believe that a lot of times we may not be taught how to indulge in self-care because we do that for so many people. I mean, honestly, as a woman, I mean, I wear many hats, you know, business owner, I have a family. So I think that, you know, developing healthier skill sets, you know, I talked about mindfulness and really just being present in the moment. You know, I listened to what Duncan said about being present on what's happening now, not what happened in your past, and carrying that because you can internalize so much that impacts your behaviors and your emotions. So being present and really developing healthier ways to be mindful. But again, self-care, I think even now going through the pandemic is so important that we do simple things. And there's a lot of things that we can do for ourselves, we can do for our families. But yes, we do have to take care of ourselves and really, I think, prioritize ourselves and not put ourselves at the back of the list, but at the front of it.
I agree. We did have a couple people join us kind of in the middle. Oh, hello.
Hey, I'm Greg Kwan. It's nice to join this group.
Well, thank you.
And
appreciate you joining us.
yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of
Alisha.
Alisha. So yes, self-care is extremely important, and during this time with multiple kids running around the house and me trying to be productive, it's extremely tough to get things done. So now I start to get frustrated with myself, and frustrated with others, but ultimately I'm frustrated with myself because I can't get what I want to get done, and that falls under that selfish component. So if you really focus on yourself, okay, you know what, I'm being triggered by others, what can I do to combat that? So mindful breathing, mindful eating, and I have a nice park across the street. I'll go and walk there, listen to the birds, and get to this state of tranquility. So I agree with you 100%. It's the most important concept to have in your life.
Yes. And you know what? I'll say this to you. I believe in, as you develop a routine, you know, getting up, praying every day. I mean, taking trips to the park, eating healthy, you know, establishing a routine really helps you to get a lot in order. It helps you to see kind of outside of what you're experiencing, you see light at the end of the tunnel. So that's really important.
Alisha, I wonder if you could talk about some of the signs of stress and anxiety. So for example, a couple of months ago, I kept having these, what my doctor called heart palpitations. To me, it felt like a flutter. And I didn't associate it with stress because I'm not generally an anxious person. And I had to wear a heart monitor for a week and it turns out that there's nothing wrong with my heart, thank goodness. But she said it's stress. And I think about a week or 2 weeks ago, it was a Saturday morning, I remember it very clearly. I was just shaking all day. My hands were shaking. I felt really anxious. My mouth was dry. I felt vulnerable. I was trying to get a hold of my son. He wouldn't pick up the phone. I needed to talk to somebody. I needed to do something. And luckily, you know, one of my friends was available, and she's into all this self-care and you know, meditating Zen stuff. And she told me, light some candles, here's a playlist, put this on, listen to the music, music. And that did help some, but I didn't see this coming. And I just wondered if you could talk about how we check in every now and then and make sure that we're catching the signs of stress and anxiety before it overtakes us.
Yes, you made a good point. You know, stress can not only impact us on a mental health level, but also physiological, the heart palpitations, the headaches, the stomach, you know, bothering you. And I think it's important, you know, you really have to be in tune with yourself to be able to see the warning signs. You know, we go into this phase of flight or fight, you know, with that, you know, we either fight to combat it, we flight away. And I think that many times, you know, once we become more grounded, such as doing simple exercises like deep breathing, the mindful awareness, I believe we're better able to manage it. Because a lot of times it'll catch you off guard. You don't know where it's coming from. I mean, I experienced a bout of stress even going through the COVID-19, you know, thinking about my job, thinking about the future. So then I really had to just calm down, decompress, and think about ways that I can overcome that. So I believe if you have a list of helpful things that you can do, it'll help you get through that. Even, you know, with aromatherapy, you know, I think Demetria can talk a lot about that, but having simple steps that you can take so that you don't feel that you're at your wit's end and you don't feel like you can't deal with all the emotional stress. I believe that's so important. So as you do mindfulness, deep breathing, as you exercise, you know, the gentleman that we had talked about just taking a walk, you know, simple things. I believe that can help combat that, because a lot of times stress can really make you feel like you are totally losing control of yourself. So I think that awareness, number one, checking in with your doctor, many times on a mental health state, talking to someone about what's some of the emotional stress you might be feeling, I think can be helpful. So you have to have, as I say, a self-care plan to have implemented so that you don't feel the effects of stress.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I guess, as you mentioned, Alisha, we'll kind of move it over to Demetria. With what you, with what you do in your business, and obviously, you know, we can't really indulge in like massages or, you know, the things that we normally associate with kind of self-care. Is there anything that you recommend? You know, I know Alisha was mentioning, you know, aromatherapy or, you know, anything that I think people aren't used to just having, you know, at arm's reach in their house or anything like that. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, definitely aromatherapy with the different senses, sense of smell affects your body in a lot of different ways. Like if you smelling like lemon, that makes it's a fresh type of feeling that you get. If you had orange gives you energy. If you, there are different, like I said, there are different things that you can do. Like if you can't get a massage, like if you are feeling anxious or, you know, you feeling anxious, you can do a simple thing is like taking your hand and pressing here on the pressure point, which will kind of, you know, relax you a little bit, bring you down. We have different pressure points in your body that you can do that can, you have a stomach, your stomach is upset. So you start to counterclockwise, rub your stomach down to a way. If you have those anxieties where Dion was talking about how, you know, you get the shakes and, you know, the heart palpitations and things like that, usually it's something that one is like, have you been working so hard that day that you didn't eat anything? Or you might have had a little something. You might need to just replenish with water. Water is like, everybody should drink lots of water every day. You would be amazed of how it just flushes out your system on a daily basis. So if you're stressed, like you may need a little water, you must take that little break. But it's different things that you can, part of what I'm saying as far as about making relaxation a part of your day. When you're recognizing, when you are experiencing these different emotions or these different feelings, like you're anxious or you're worried, you're recognizing what brought on that feeling to you. When you can get to the point where you can say, this is a bad stressor or a good stressor. Like when Duncan was talking about that adrenaline, if a kid was going to get hit by a car, you're going to grab him back. That's a good stressor because your adrenaline is going, it's getting your body going, because you have to keep your body moving. So when you're sitting at your desk all day, you have to move. Like you have to get up, you have to sit down. You maybe, like I said, walk. You might just sit at your desk and move your feet, or move around. Just, you have to keep moving. You have to stay hydrated. And another thing is sometimes you just really need to talk to somebody, like get it out of you. Because when you start to hold everything in and then it gets to a boiling point, or if you feel like, I need to do this and nobody's helping me do this, but you don't want to release it for somebody to do it. So it's like, you kind of bring some stressors on yourself, which you really don't have to do. So it's just basically kind of recognizing what those stressors are, how did you bring them in, and then just take a minute, find that thing that makes you make relaxation a part of your day, because it's very important to do that.
Perfect. And then I guess, Duncan, if you could kind of give us some pointers on understanding resilience a little better, and maybe how to, just get better at it.
Yeah. So first thing I want to say is everybody has setbacks. This is a very important thing to understand, right? Social media will lead you to believe that all your friends have perfect lives, right? LinkedIn will lead you to believe that everybody's job is amazing and, everything is awesome, right? And our ego instantly starts comparing our situation in life to other people's. That's how our ego finds its place in existence, right? It lives by comparison. So, that erodes our resilience when we have this fictitious image of other people's lives, right? We got to understand that everybody has they don't just have setbacks once in a while. They have setbacks every day. Everybody has setbacks. It could be somebody cut you off in traffic, or it could be you didn't get the job you wanted, you didn't get enough time to work out today. Whatever, it is for you, everybody has setbacks. So resilience is really about how you overcome those setbacks. And a lot of that is really changing your focus. Because, we have like a negativity bias. Some researchers say it takes 11 positive things to overcome one negative thing. Some say 6. but we have an implicit bias to focus on the negative. So you could be having a great day, bunch of good stuff happening, and one bad thing happens and your whole day is ruined, right? You get a text from your ex-girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, they say the wrong thing and your whole day, your energy is totally thrown off, right? So resilience is about building up that kind of internal force so that when you have a setback, you have stockpiled good experiences. And you do that not by like manufacturing new experiences or good experiences, obviously that's good too, but just changing your focus, because you're gonna see what you focus on. If you decide to focus on the good things, one thing that I have people do in every training I do is called Hunt the Good Stuff. It's how we start every single training. We do it with every soldier, every professional, everybody I work with, where we name 3 positive things that have happened in the last 24 hours. And then you do 1 reflection about each thing. And we do it every day for every training. And what it does is it starts to stockpile positive energy, positive experiences, and then it changes your focus. Because after you do it 4 or 5 days, you'll start noticing good things during the day, like, oh, that'll be one of my Hunt the Good Stuffs tomorrow. You know, like you'll start to catch those positive things because it's really simple, right? And if you think, sometimes it's hard to find because you have a rough day. Sometimes it's difficult to find the good thing. That's why it's called Hunt the Good Stuff, not name the good stuff, right? Because sometimes you got to hunt to find that good thing. Like, oh, well, you know what? My wife did cook and it was great. So you know what? That was a good thing. Or my daughter did do the dishes without me having to ask. That was a good, you know, and then all of a sudden, instantly you start just generating positive energy. So that's one way, like a concrete takeaway you can do in your own personal life to like start to build that spirit of gratitude, that spirit of resilience, so that when you have that setback, it doesn't like break you. Because what the danger is, if you're not focused on building that resilience muscle, when you have one setback, then you have another, on top. Now you're at risk of like depression or some type of negative, harmful self-behavior. And that's when you get at a really low point. So we don't want to get there. So we want to be constantly building up positive experiences and positive energy. So when you get the setback, you're like, oh man, I learned from it, move on, you know, and you just kind of keep going. And right now in COVID, a lot of people are going through some difficult times. Like the gentleman said earlier, you know, it's hard to focus on your goals. And when you got kids running around, you got to make sure they're getting their schoolwork done and eating and have some sort of schedule. You know, some people have lost their jobs. Some people have family members that are sick that they can't visit. Like, this is a really difficult time. And we don't really teach mental toughness or mental agility to young people or to people. So it's not like a muscle people are used to have to overcome setback over setback over setback. Like Alisha said, it's fight or flight. If you're in fight mode all the time, you're not the best version of yourself. Mm-hmm. So we want to get to build that spirit of resilience. So you just over setback. And that's why I talk about, like, the title of my book is Rerouting. I tell people, live your life like a GPS. When a GPS, you plug in that destination, you take a wrong turn, or there's a road is blocked, or you miss the turn, the GPS doesn't break down. Don't get mad. Don't get an attitude. Don't post on social networks. It just says rerouting. It just says rerouting. And it just keeps going until it reroutes you to your destination. So live your life like that. You have, okay, COVID hit. All right, I got my plan for going to speak at this conference, that's over. My plan for this business fair, that's over. Okay, well, what can I do? Let me reroute. Let me create a virtual business fair. Let me create a virtual conference to speak at. Let me do some online training too. Like, you just, every day, and if you just build that as part of who you are, when setbacks come, you don't even, you know, it don't even hit you the same. You just like, oh, okay, that didn't work. Let's try this. You know, and you just move forward. So that's what I'd say to that, Ira.
I guess I do have a question. Oh, Dion?
No, I was saying, Duncan, saying building these principles, these attitudes into your life will help you be more resilient when the crisis does come. It's kind of hard to, and not saying you shouldn't try, but when the crisis is here, that's when you're working on yourself and desperately working to develop some different attitudes. And one thing I want to point out is that whatever attitudes and principles you live by in your personal life, that will reflect on you as a small business owner. You will carry those over to your small business. And when we think about our typical client, especially those who attend our business training series, These are usually single head of household moms who are between 35 and 55, and so many of them have underlying health issues. If you are not healthy, you are not going to have a healthy business. You have to take care of yourself first before you can, I think Adam's on the phone with us. He's always talking about, he's always saying, well, you can't fill up somebody else's cup from an empty jug. So you first have to fill yourself up before you can take care of other people. And small businesses are so integral to our communities. They're the engine that drive our communities. Small business owners build wealth for themselves and their communities. So it's very important that you take care of yourselves. And when you think in terms of, say, for example, credit worthiness, people always talk about the 5 C's of credit. Well, there's a thing called the 4 D's of credit. Disability, death, divorce, and there's something else. And you will end up being divorced or disabled or, God forbid, losing your life if you're not taking care of yourself. And you cannot present yourself, to a creditor, a potential creditor, and you've got all these issues that you're dealing with. It will reflect in your finances and how you look on paper. So it's really important that you take care of yourself as a small business owner.
I do have a question. So I particularly am a firm believer of kind of protecting your own mental state. Try to, the people that you have around you, hopefully if you're trying to work on yourself and kind of keeping an optimistic, point of view, it's a little hard when maybe you're surrounded by a lot of pessimistic people. Do you have any tips or anything like that you would recommend people do if for some reason this is a situation that someone else is in, like, that they can't actually get away from that particular person for whatever reason, but something that can kind of make sure that it doesn't kind of drag them down? Whoever would like to try that one out.
Yeah, I'll start, and then I'll let Alisha look like she's brewing. So I'll say this. A lot of times we ask ourselves, we define our close-knit circle by, we say, who's going to be there when I get in trouble, right? Mm-hmm. When all else fails, when everything breaks down, who can I call that's going to have my back, right? That's not how you define the circle that you want to build around, okay? This is how you define the circle that you want to build around. You ask this question: who do I call when I have the amazing, best, world-class news, when my life changed because she said yes, or I got the promotion? Who do I call then? Because they're not the same people, right? That person you call when you're in trouble, your cousin who they're going to bail you out or be there, that person, that's not the same person you call when you get that promotion, right? That might be an aunt or an uncle or a colleague or a mentor. That person who you call with the good news, they're going to be so excited for your good news. They're going to get you excited all over again. You're going to relive the whole experience because they're so excited for your good thing, right? You need 3 or 4 people like that. That's the circle that's going to hold you accountable to your potential, that's going to push you and never let you just settle at where you're at, that's going to believe in you when you don't believe in yourself and you feel low. That's the circle. And if you don't got that circle, if you got the detractors, the people who you call, I got this new job and oh my God, it's amazing. Do you really want to move to Texas? I don't know. Oh my God, I met this guy. He's amazing. This is the one. Well, 20 years ago, my cousin used to talk to him. Like that person, you can love them from a distance, but you can't allow them into your space because they're going to drain. You only got a little bit of energy there to overcome what society has programmed us to do. Like, we like robots every day, same routine, breakfast, lunch, dinner, kids, work. Like, we got robots, right? So this force you got to create a business out of that normalness, that's power, which is not unlimited, right? So if you got somebody draining that, like, you'll never get to where you want to be. You'll never be able to build that legacy that you're looking to build. So you gotta separate yourself, and you need to do it soon. This is not some long process. You need to just, they text you, you start dry texting them back. You're not engaging with their energy because that's where they are in development. you've got to be over here to get to where you want to go to. And so I kick it to Alisha.
Yes, I've been brewing. I think that it's important to find the people that would cheerlead for you. I tell myself I'm a cheerleader. I like to see people achieving. I'm always motivating. So those are the people that you want to tap into. And yes, you have to separate those that are not going to speak on your behalf or always have something negative to say. I want to be around people who bring the best out of me and who uplift me. And then those who don't, you do have to put up barriers because they will take you down because that's how they feel. It's like that saying, the crab in a barrel, those people will drain you and suck the life out of you. So especially during this time, I believe that you have to identify your network and you have to know your worth and be around positive people because you are who you surround yourself with. And I think as I'm in business, there's a lot of people that I had to cut back. There's people that are in my life now that want to see me become successful. And those are the people that I keep close to me.
Sounds good. Demetria?
Basically, I believe it 100%. You have to encourage and affirm yourself on a daily basis first. And then, like, everybody else is saying is have those cheerleaders with you that, like you said, be able to check you and keep you up to what you're supposed to be doing, keeping you accountable. I talked about how we have to release the things that no longer serve you. So, or people and things, you have to release them. It's just sometimes you just have to let go. As hard as it may be, you have to come to that decision that those things or that person or situation is no longer good for you. And, like Duncan said, you're dry responding back. And after a while, some people you have to slowly get out of your life. So, and then just, connecting with people who are going to be a benefit to you in your future. I mean, some of these decisions are very hard to make, but you have to think about yourself. Like I said, it's okay for you to think about yourself first. It's not selfish to self-care. It's just not selfish. You it's something that you have to do if you want to continue to live, and that's just personally and in your business. It's just those things you have to, make sure you do.
And I just want to just comment one more time before you move on that same topic. It's like, how they say, if you are kind of holding on to like a relationship situation where y'all aren't moving forward, you got to let that person go to make space for that right person to come in your life, right? The same is true about your friendships, about your business partnerships. If you're holding on, if somebody's in the 2 or 3 spaces that you've got close to you that they have no business being there and they're not helping you, they're occupying a space that somebody else would take or could take, but they can't because you got somebody there. So you've got to, free yourself. I like how Demetria said, you got to release what isn't helping you grow. Like you just got to do it like a Band-Aid, like right off. Like, who the people are. Like if we said right now, name the 3 people that's like dragging you down, the negative people. Like, bam, bam, bam. You know who they are, right? So you know what you got to do, right? It may be tough. Demetria said she was right. It's not easy. I'm not trying to downplay how, how difficult it may be, but you know what you got to do. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you just know. David knows. He knows who's in his life and he's got to let go of. You just gotta do it because this is how you grow. And I promise you, as soon as you do, it's like, it's unbelievable the peace that follows when you do it. I had these people on Facebook who used to always they're not negative towards me, but just negative in general about everything. So they watch a lot of YouTube. They're conspiracy theorists. They're super woke. So they judge everybody, right? And so I was like, I refused to block them on Facebook because I was just like, I'm not gonna have to go through the process to block them because I'm strong enough that I can overcome their negativity and not let it affect me, right? And that was stupid. Okay, that's just stupid logic. And so eventually, after like months, I finally just said, you know what, I'm done with this. So I just blocked them, like 7 people, just blocked them all, right? And it was like this incredible peace. Like, why didn't I do this a year ago? Like that, just get that out of here, right? So I'm just using that as an example to say, like, what needs to be done. Don't let your ego stop you from doing it. Just go ahead. You love them, but they're not good for you. Okay? Push them away. You got a business to run. You got dreams. You got goals. It's hard climbing up a mountain. That's what y'all doing as business owners. You trying to climb up a mountain through obstacles, through systems, through, you know, not having and lack and building. I mean, that's what you're trying to set out to do is so hard by itself. You gonna carry weights too? You gonna try to go up this mountain with weights in your backpack? Like, let that go so you can like be your best self, you know, and have that peace and joy. Because the journey is really the joy. It's not you wake up and you're 63 and now you're happy in a mansion full of models and you finally made it. Like that's not how it works. The joy in life is the journey.
Right.
But you're supposed to be enjoying going through building the business and filling out all these paperwork forms and finding new customers. Like it's an adventure and you're supposed to enjoy it as you go, not like be, you know, tortured the whole time and then like one day it's going to get better. Like that's terrible. What kind of life is that, right? So like we want to get you to have that joy every day.
Right.
So let me ask, what if you're actually the negative one? Like what you, like, I guess maybe what are some signs that'll help you notice, like maybe you're the one that's actually bringing people down versus it being your surrounding?
So negativity is often tied to expectations. So, you know, negative emotions are often tied to like you want something, you expect something, you're not getting it. Also, sometimes that negativity is roots from thinking traps. Like I talk about this a lot. Like something happens and then we react. That's kind of how most people operate, right? There's an activating event and then we have an emotional reaction to it. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, you give them the finger. You know, something good happens, you smile. Like, you know, it's just like something happens and you respond, right? But there's actually something in the middle, right? There's how you think about what happened, your thoughts. You get to choose because we're not robots, right? So I'll make this example quick. Imagine you're on a train, there's two bad kids acting totally out of control. Like they are just pulling your purse, knocking your phone down. These like 5 and 6, this is bad as all get out, right? The father is just sitting there. He's just letting them be bad. So you're getting mad, you get angry. And then somebody finally says to the father, why are you letting your kids be bad? So everybody kind of gives him that look like, what's he gonna say, right? And then it finds out, he says, oh, my wife died. We're going across country to spread her ashes out, which our family is just totally falling apart. I don't know what to do. So now all of a sudden, Adam starts playing with the little boy. Alisha starts playing games with the little girl. All of a sudden, the whole energy changes, right? The situation didn't change. How we think about the situation changed, right? Because Adam could have been playing with the little boy from the beginning. Alisha could have been teaching the little girl stuff from the beginning. But we needed our thinking about it to change. So we have that power all the time to have our thinking about things change. So if we're being negative, then we can change how we think about stuff. Something bad happens to you. You can look at that and say, oh, woe is me. It's always something. Or you can say, you know what? I learned this, so I'm going to make my resume better for the next application. Now, I'm glad I learned that so I can step forward. Or you're going to say, I tried to go running today. I only made it 2.5 minutes before I broke down. And you can take that as a lesson. It's like, you can say, oh, man, I failed. I didn't make it to 1 mile. Or you can say, man, I got started today. Right? I got started. Tomorrow, I'm going to do 3.5 minutes. Right? We can change the way we think. We control how we think about things. And that's just so important to your resilience, to your power, because once you own that, then you can come out of that negativity, that slump, that kind of, you know, because we all kind of fall into those from time to time where you just get in a rut and it's just not, you're just not being your best self. You can just start changing how you think about stuff. And sometimes at first it might feel like pretend. Right? Like, you know you sad about this and you're going to tell yourself that I'm not sad and this is the lesson I took. And it feels like BS, like, you know, just being honest, right? Like, whatever. But then the next time something happens, you do it again. Then something happens to one of your friends and you say it to them. And they're like, you know what? I never thought about it. Then you feel, you know, all of a sudden you can start changing. Life doesn't just happen to you. Like people think that they're just life happens and we got to deal with it. No, you dictate your reality. What you do, how you perceive information, what you think about things changes the reality that you live in. We have that power. So, okay, I'm sorry. I'm done. Go ahead.
I think that's extremely powerful. And so far, there's been a theme of law of attraction. So that the positive thinking, our decisions that we're making, because we do create our own reality. So if you're not being extremely intentional about the things that you're saying, the things that you're doing, you're going to start to see your reality is totally in a state of discomfort if you're not aligning with that because of how you're perceiving things and the actions you're doing. So someone who is negative or they perceive themselves as negative, that's the problem in itself because you perceive yourself that way. So you have to go to a place of affirmation. You wake up, I'm a positive person, or my reality is going to change today. Today is going to be a beautiful day.
Mhm.
I'm going to walk in a state of happiness. I'm going to give somebody a compliment today. You know, I'm going to have a deal with a major company today. You say all of these affirmations, and what's going to happen is they're going to come to your existence. It may not come immediately. It may not come in a week. It may, sorry, that's my son, Mason.
Okay. He's
But if,
on the conversation.
absolutely, the more persistent you are with that thought, you increase the frequency of that achievement. So you all are amazing and you're hitting it right on the nail. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that too, because I believe, you speak things into existence. The same thing like you're saying, you're giving your affirmations, you speak things into existence. So if you're like when Duncan was talking about, if you change the way that you're looking at a situation, it changes the way that it is. So speaking things into existence is huge, because if you, like you were saying, if you have, I have this great idea and I want to put it out there, and then you're all excited about that, and then if you, that negative person say, but you know what, they probably not gonna like it, or oh, somebody else did this before, or I might not probably get the same people, or even thinking that you're in competition with someone else that kind of does something what you do, but your idea is a little bit different. So I think that speaking things into existence and positivity, and you know what, I'm going to try this, and this, everybody's going to love it. That's just it. So that thing is affirmations of your own, but I truly believe that speaking things into existence of what you want for your life is adding to that.
Yeah. And I believe there's life and death in the tongue. To speak positivity, you got to believe you can achieve it. And one thing I tell a lot of people, write down the things that you want. When I started my business, I posted that I will open up a boutique. It was 2010. And literally that next year later, I had my retail store. So I believed it and I put it into existence. So yes, that positive energy you exude, you can make things happen because of that.
Perfect. So we are coming up to the end of our discussion, but I just want to ask, if the panelists have any final words they'd like to get out, any tips or, anything you feel that's going to help someone on their journey.
I just want to say, practice taking care of you, practice being mindful, and prioritize yourself.
Perfect.
I believe in too, just like I said, recognize those things that can cause your negative stress. Affirm yourself on a daily basis. Find that thing that you would make relaxation a part of your day. That's very huge for me. Just definitely get in tune with yourself and figure out, spend time with you. Just spoil yourself. Just spend time with you. And just, I think that's going to be a positive ending.
Perfect.
Yeah, I just say, you have to make the decision on what kind of life you want. If you want joy, you got to decide, I'm going to have a joy-filled life. You want happiness, I'm going to be happy. Mm-hmm. You make that decision and you mean it. You mean it to yourself. So when something happens, you're like, this ain't stopping me. I've decided I'm going to be happy. And you find the joy in everything. If you want more information from me, go to DuncanKirkwood.com. You can get my book there, Rerouting, Resilience, Tools, and Tactics. Follow me on all social media at Duncan Kirkwood. Peace and love. I had to do the plug thing, you know what I mean?
I'm not surprised. It's okay. That's the whole point of this, right? Because it's not just about Pastone Enterprise Center. That's why we collaborate with the TA providers. We think that you have valuable information, and we are we're thrilled, that you decided to collaborate with us, right? Because again, the idea behind the series is to get as much information out to people so that they can go ahead and start their journeys or make their journey better, right? Because like Duncan said, it's all about the process. You have to enjoy the process. It's not about the ending, because, you know, the ending may be very different than what you actually imagined. You know, we are only limited in like what we think the end will be. But I feel like sometimes we sell ourselves short, right? And the ending may actually be much better than we could have ever imagined.
Right.
So again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I'm very biased in this particular topic. I'm all about self-care. I think this is something that a lot of people should, I guess, should just make more of a priority in their life. We usually put this on the back burner, and then we wonder why at the end of the day we're stressed and, you know, maybe our lives aren't, you know, what we expected them to be. So thank you so much, everyone. And, you know, follow us on social media as well. We have our last tool coming up next week. That's tool 4. So we'll have Jessica Lewis talking about repositioning your brand in a time of crisis and leveraging social media to maintain sales. Look for our emails. Again, follow us on social. Check our website out, bizupbuffalo.org. And we hope to see everyone next week. Thank you, folks. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Appreciate it.